All right, we're live. It's Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. Lots going on. We're having some technical difficulties today. Never a dull moment in the live broadcasting. We have a great guest, but before we get rolling, we're going to ask Dr. John Sibley Butler to say something about a guitar and sing. Maybe he'll do it a cappella. I don't know what's going to come up. Go ahead, Johnny.
At a time world seems to be spinning hopelessly out of control. They're deceivers and believers, and the only there seems now no place to go.
Huh. We're gonna have to work on that, John. I don't know what's going on. The mic is
on that. I'll get on that myself. It's probably
the mic is not capturing the guitar for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
anyway,
know. Yeah.
Tell me, what's going on? Are you in an airplane? What's happening there?
No, what's happening is I'm celebrating yesterday my best friend, good friend, birthday in his 80s. He is Carl Paul, who founded Golfsmith. And he's one of the great companies in America, one of the great companies in Austin that started our great run in Austin. Mm-hmm. And Golfsmith was the first company to have it so that you can put your golf clubs together. Mm-hmm. And I think this flight, we're going to Colorado to play golf on the private plane like we always do. And so I'm celebrating his birthday. And great guy, a great entrepreneur. He's in there with Mike Adele and Jim Mackey and Jim Tressard and all the other great entrepreneurs in Austin.
Awesome. So tell me, John, what's going on? The second week of us being back in January. What's happening? How's the world doing?
Well, the world in Austin is pretty wild. I talked to some people this morning who was thinking about bringing a major medical situation to Austin, as you know, mm-hmm. or to your university. Then I also talked to other people about what will Austin look like in the next 15 to 20 years as technology moves on. But more importantly, the war in Europe is still going on. And as a Vietnam veteran, I can feel for the soldiers themselves as America send weapons and tanks to that country, and war is never good. And the question is, how would it affect what we're doing here in America? Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to have supply chain issues, number one. Europe will have issues during the wintertime, number two. Our supply chain will affect our economy, especially our economy in terms of the stock market, right? But America, in terms of the jobs, lots of jobs, nobody wants to go back to work. The major issue today for America is what's going on in Europe. Mm-hmm. That is the whole idea that Ukraine is now under attack, and it is the attack itself, but it's going to be the impact on oil and gas, mm-hmm. things that are destroyed. So it's very, very interesting to look at the world and to research the world today and comment on the world today. I see my good friend Llewellyn King. Llewellyn King, before you ask, that's my good friend's birthday. We're on a plane flying to celebrate his birthday. That's Mr. Carl Paul, who founded Golfsmith, a great entrepreneur. So I'm celebrating his birthday.
Llewellyn, you're muted. Can you hear us? You're still muted.
Okay, I think I've got it.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Hello,
Where are you?
How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you very much. I'm frustrated as usual by electronics. I had a plan. I was going to get off the Amtrak train in Union Station, go to the Acela Lounge, where they have good Wi-Fi, except the lounge is closed. Last night, in preparation for this, Uber wife, Linda, told me how to do it on my hotspot, but she didn't give me the link to the code that I needed to access the hotspot. So I've been going quietly mad. I've been trying various restaurants, looking desperately at women who seem to have no problem. But It's not going well. No, it's awful.
But you look like you're in a huge cathedral or Grand Central.
Well, I'm
Where are you?
sitting in the very quietest spot I can find, and they've been very helpful in the Uno Pizza. And I'm
Nice.
trying to eat something which I bought here, which is more out of manners than hunger.
Well, you know, Llewellyn, I have a strategy for you. Stay at home sometime.
Are you going actually in an airplane, or are you only trying to pretend that you have access to private jets?
Well, I do have access to private jets. That is not a facsimile to me.
No,
That is, I don't play public golf courses and I don't fly in public airplanes.
Eric, stay away from these two guys.
Your
Is
superiority.
that
quite
clear
tough
enough
to
for you? I don't play public golf courses and I don't fly in public airplanes. I mean, how much clearer can it be? God bless America.
I've known many elites in my time, but this is elite taken to exaggerated levels.
Absolutely. And my grandpa, it would be proud of me. And I'm everything my parents, grandparents, great-grandparents wanted me to be.
I would think that they would be distrusting of you. They would think, is he up to something dishonest? This is beyond the expectations of the family gene pool.
Yeah, let me say hi to our guest, guys.
Yeah, let's get the guest in here.
Erik Andersen, how are you, sir?
Yes.
Doing great. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely, absolutely. So a lot of people maybe don't know much about your company, the Lower Colorado River Authority, but Erik Andersen is the Director of Business Development. His focus is broadband communications, telecommunications, and such. We're gonna hear from him for the next hour or so. We're very excited to have him. Prior to LCRA, Erik was VP of Sales at WaterSmart Software, VP of Sales at Remedy Interactive, Global Business Development Manager at PeopleSoft, strategies in the office of the COO at Federal Express, and Strategic Alliances Manager at Hewlett Packard Enterprise. Erik holds a BS in Agricultural Economics from UC Davis and an MBA from Vanderbilt University. Welcome, Erik.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. As you know, Erik, we talk in this program a lot about digital transformation and review all the latest and greatest things that are going on telecom, on fiber, 5G, on smart cities, smart utilities, smart energies, water, wastewater, transportation, and the like. And I know your company and you know plays a significant role in sort of the digitalization of infrastructure going forward in the state of Texas. Give us a little bit about LCRA and your role in telecommunications and what's going on there.
Yeah, LCRA has been around about almost 90 years now, serving the state of Texas. We're technically a conservation and reclamation district that was formed to tame the Colorado River that runs through Austin, Texas. And it has grown into a charter to first control the river and then provide drinking water, and then later hydroelectric power, and to bring electricity, low-cost, reliable electricity to rural Texas. And that mission has expanded over the years to include, it's really made us what we are today, a wholesale utility focused on power generation, power transmission, water, and telecommunications. And so my team is involved in that telecom, where we create the radio system and the fiber networks to manage our internal business, generation, transmission, and water. And then we also bring it externally to serve the communities in rural Texas. So that's broadband and also public safety radio systems for utilities and for communities. So it's a really fun place to be, to serve Texans and to work hard to deliver reliable, low-cost infrastructure.
Right. Now, you say that the LCRA service territory or the mission was to to kind of tame the lower Colorado River around Austin, but the service territory of LCRA is way, way bigger than that.
It is. It's, I don't know how many counties we're in now in Texas. Of the 254 counties in Texas, I would guess we're in 90 plus counties today. And of course, the river stretches a good part of the state, but our grid, the transmission system we operate, our fiber network really covers a lot of territory in Central Texas. So we're a big player in the economic, underpinning the economic development of the state of Texas.
Right.
Yes,
Now,
Eric,
hold on, Johnny, real quick. Eric, also share with us the Texas State Legislature in the last session passed some things very significant about broadband. One of those things was basically instructing LCRA to play a significant role on the proliferation of broadband in Texas. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, the legislature in 2021 asked us to take some of the fiber network that we have, 2,200 miles of fiber optics around Texas, and to use some of that excess capacity to deliver broadband services to rural Texans for healthcare, for economic development, for government, for schools, and for commerce in general. So we're busy doing that project. My team is leading that project to deliver, the COVID taught us a lot about the need for great internet everywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
And the necessity of it for all aspects of modern life. So our job is to, just like we brought electricity to rural Texas in the 1930s, our job is to do the same thing with broadband now.
Got it. Johnny?
as you know, you're a man after my heart. My father has the same degrees that you have. And he brought rural electricity to the county agent and on the North Shore of Louisiana. And I wanted to start this question. You know, Texas Monthly 2 years ago ran an essay entitled "Small Towns, Big Money." And it went through all of the small towns in Texas and it looked at how they were evolving and they had great things to do. The question is this: when we look back on let's just call it rural electrification, when the family farm was certainly self-contained, how do you look at the movement of the rural now? I mean, when we say rural Texas now, given what you've done, how do you look at, how will it enhance the small towns of Texas? More importantly, what's the population movement to the small towns in Texas? Who will it enhance? That's the first question. Whether it's Marfa, you know about Marfa, right? Mm-hmm. What's going on in Marfa, what's going on in Fredericksburg, it's the new Aspen, as they say, right? What's going on in other places as we look forward to the next generation of what's happening in Texas and other states too along these lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some move, there's some population shifts that are going on, but I think that what we're seeing is a strong interest in reviving and reinvigorating rural Texas and rural communities in general through broadband as an important part of that for education, for government, for healthcare. And one of the things we're seeing a lot of is that there's people want to be able to work and live where they want to work. And so this, COVID also restructured the whole workplace and the workforce. And so people are wanting to live in places like Fredericksburg or Marfa and work remotely. And that demands a different kind of infrastructure. And we also think that broadband's vital to job growth, job creation, and, the making sure that industry remains a vital part of Texas and the economy here.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's very interesting when we talk about distributed workplace where people want to live, people, quote, refusing to go to work. And as we look at, in your situation, as we look at the hill country of Texas, then you can imagine it could be just like the great places in the northeast, like between Boston and the great cities of America. So one of the questions I always ask is, is there anybody keeping up though with the number of enterprises that's going on in rural areas because of broadband? Are they decreasing? Are they still moving to cities? Have you thought about doing some work on the relationship, the correlation of the movement of broadband with the movement of industries that's coming to Austin, or moving out of Austin, or moving out of Dallas to the great places?
I think we're starting to see it when you see shifts in industries going into places near Austin, like Caldwell County, Bastrop County, Blanco County. We're starting to see more job creation. Hayes County is a big beneficiary of that as well. So there's a lot going on. If the infrastructure is there, it does create opportunities for job creation and high quality of life.
Llewellyn?
Yes, hello. Excuse me for being late and for trying to eat my lunch and being frustrated with all kinds of technology. Broadband, I assume to be one of them. However, I do know a little bit about Lower Colorado Authority because I used to know yes, David Freeman, who for a while was head of your operation there, I believe. I have a question about the whole issue of broadband. Why is it taking so long to bring it to all corners of the country? We have various people urging in Congress. We have the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association, which has a program pushing broadband, and yet we still have a lot of areas that apparently do not have it. Why is it so slow? Why is it taking so long? And is there a lack of national coherence?
Yeah, it's my point of view on that is that it's taken a long time because it's very expensive to serve these areas. The density isn't there for the economics to work in a lot of cases using the technology that are around today. So the federal government is stepping in recently and creating grant programs and incentives for cooperatives and internet service providers, wired and wireless, to make those investments because it's needed. It's clear that it's needed, but it's between the easements that you need to secure, the networking equipment, the cybersecurity, and the physical connections. That's a tremendous amount of investment that has to happen.
Yeah, I can share some perspective on that. We are, CMG is managing the project management office for the fiber project that is going on in Brownsville. It's a $100 million project. It's 100 miles of middle mile, and then there will be a last mile added to that by multiple providers. And the cost today, with everything all in, supply chain, all the challenges, is roughly $50 per foot to install fiber. It's very expensive. And so, in the case of LCRA, if you think about it, LCRA has been building infrastructure to run its own business and funding that through the service that they provide, selling water and energy and all the other things they do, managing parks and so on. And so now the state legislature is basically saying, look, we have these assets, they have been built. Why don't we sort of expand those assets? And I'm sure it's not as easy as we're saying it here. And Erik and his team are arguing internally how to do this, but it covers some of the cost if the assets are already sort of nearby, already built, right? And versus creating a brand new thing. And so it's really the cost. It's really the biggest thing.
Well, let's think about this though. When I was a lad a wee lad, in an interesting kind of way, the expressways were built for the same kind of economic activity. But the expressways and the interstate highways in America were designed to move people about. What we're discussing here will leave people at home. So my question to Erik and my distinguished historian Llewellyn here, is the broadband just as significant as the interstate highways were when they started it in laid it out in the 1950s? is it just as significant for government to lay the infrastructure for Americans to do well as it was when the car was taking over everything in a car culture where we went to the movies in the car, we went to the restaurant in the car, we never got out of the car. Broadband, Eric, as you look forward, can it have the same kind of economic effect in a different kind of way that the interstate highways did as they came alive in the 1950s and 60s?
Yeah, I think broadband is the next fundamental need, right? That we have as a society, that it is as significant as the highway system or the electric grid that we built as a country. And it does change all those things you mentioned, right? Entertainment, commerce, government, education, all can be transformed through better, faster, more reliable, more affordable broadband. And so our job is just the middle mile. We can't affect the last mile, but we can at least enable those who are providing the last mile to do it well and to do it.
So just as we had the National Highway Act, why not have the National Broadband Act for economic activities in the future? Now, on the other hand, the highways were done so we can move things militarily. That was the reason for it was done. But it seems like to me that as we move deeper into the 21st century, that the broadband is just as important as the interstate highway in a different kind of way, but the same kind of way.
It is, and our
comment on that, yeah.
Luella, do you hear that?
Not quite. Eric, are you there?
Johnny, you want to repeat that?
Yeah, Llewellyn, I wanted to hear your comment. Is broadband today just important as the interstate highways were in the 50s for commerce in America in the future?
My view is yes. I think it's absolutely essential. You cannot have part of the country not participating to the fullest extent in economic activity, but also in social activities, in educational activities. Broadband is now part of the sinew of the body politic, and it needs to be expanded everywhere. I wonder why we haven't seen something equivalent to what was the creation of the Colorado River Authority or a Salt River Project, or for that matter, the Tennessee Valley Authority, when there were big efforts to bypass the normal economic channels to create alternatives, ways of getting it done. Salt River Project is an example. They needed electricity, they needed flood control, very similar to Lower Colorado River. But we haven't seen that kind of workaround, despite enormous support from organizations whose genesis was in this kind of workaround. It didn't work economically, people did it anyway, and eventually it worked economically. I have a very, very confused picture, and I think the country has a confused picture of why broadband has been so patchy, why there hasn't been national coherence, as I said earlier. It's so important. This is very extraordinary.
Well, I'm not going to let Eric get in trouble, but I would suspect that the regulation of the telecom industry, primarily AT&T in 1996, had something to do with that, and the fact that the carriers pay a ton of money for being carriers and they want everything protected, right? So, but you're absolutely right that there should be far more workarounds, and I think we're seeing that in Texas, and thank God for LCRA. Now, Eric, let's get back to what you're doing. So tell us right now, what is since the legislature said that to you all, and you got hired, and you have been sort of reimagining how to do this. What is the uptake? What kind of pipeline? What kind of demand? What's happening?
Yeah, there's the operational side is where we spent a lot of time the last year or so since I've been here. One of the things we have to do is clear easements along our rights of way to make sure that we can move third-party internet traffic across our communication lines. Because in the past, everything was built for the utility, and now we're bringing third-party traffic. So we have to make sure parcel by parcel, ranch by ranch, that we are in line with rights as a transmission, as a communications provider. So we have to make sure our easements are clear. The second thing is the network architecture design, and making sure that we have equipment in the right place, and to provide lit services, fast services, 1 gig, 10 gig, 100 gig services to Central Texas. And that's much better than anybody has today in most of these regions. And so we're doing the network architecture, and then building those physical connections. So if you can imagine these big transmission lines running through rural Texas, fiber's on the very, very top line. And that ends up dropping down into an electric substation on the edge of a typically, a small Texas town. And so our substation will be there, fiber coming in. So we have to get outside the fence and then find a partner locally to bring that fiber into the community. And so far, we have more than 20 customers in the short time we've been doing this. So we're really grateful for the interest, and we have a lot more work to do. And the Texas State the broadband office just released their new maps, and so we were curious to study those and assess their accuracy and what that might do to our business plan.
Yeah, tell us real quick about that, because I don't think everybody listening or that will listen in the future knows about this State of Texas Broadband Office. Tell us about that, because it got actually built out and you're already in the job. So give us a background on that.
Yeah, at the same time that our authority was granted to provide broadband, the legislature also created the Texas Broadband Development Office. And they're tasked with administering some of the grants that are coming down from the federal government that are encouraging broadband, and then also to create a kind of a common map, a common language for understanding broadband availability throughout all of Texas. And so that means really two things. What are the serviceable locations for broadband? Like, what are all the branches and camps and houses and businesses, hospitals, government institutions throughout the state? What are all the serviceable areas? And second, how fast is it? What can you get there? What kind of service? Is it wired only? Is it wireless? Is it satellite? Is it, there's so many choices, and there's a lot of free enterprise, which is exciting. And so, but there's a lot of areas that are not well served today in Texas. So many.
Well, Aaron, let's talk about what the people of Texas want in Lukenbach, Texas. Now you're sitting.
Get closer, Johnny. Get closer.
You're telling me now what the government has done. Let's talk what people in Lukenbach, Texas would like. So when we go to Lukenbach, Texas, and etc., city councils talk about broadband, or do the people want broadband? Is it a discussion, or is it something that you do when you move out of Lukenbach? Let's talk about your future customers in the rural. How are they accepting? Are they demanding broadband? Because it would seem to me that it would go much faster if they demanded it. Is it hostile to you when you move in? How do you manage those kinds of aspects when you go into rural Texas?
I think what we're finding is that there's a lot of interest in bringing better broadband, because it can mean more affordable, higher speed, and more reliable service. And anybody who's tried to get a doctor appointment during COVID and realized the value of telemedicine, or so many students had to go home and learn from home. People want to take classes online as adults, and people also want entertainment. So there's all kinds of reasons that broadband is valuable to residences and businesses. From the small entrepreneur trying to put an Etsy store up to build something and make something, that their own craft, to just trying to take care of their family's needs. We're seeing a lot of interest and a lot of demand.
Llewellyn?
I was wondering, in your build out, have you run into supply chain problems, or are you not that far along?
It is an issue that we're definitely trying to manage. There's some of the optical gear has been in limited supply, or there's some long lead times. So we're trying to buy ahead of our installation where we can, and also work really closely with some of the big players in networking equipment, because that's a real potential slowdown if we can't get all the things that we need.
In this large service territory you have, what is the penetration of broadband so far? Is it 5%, 10, 50?
Oh, it's quite low. Many places, if you study the new Texas map, broadband map that came out from the state, there's 25 up, 3 down. 25 down, 3 up is the typical service in many communities, which is 25 megabits per second. Is pretty light. It's hard to get much done in that. Pervasive.
The county agent was the agent that really made rural Texas take off in the future. Are you taking advantage of the networks, county agents that we have throughout the state of Texas that's responsible for rural development in the traditional way? So we, in the 1900s, then we created many resources, of course, from Texas A&M and other A&M schools that really help the farmer. Now we need people to help the entrepreneur outside of agriculture and inside of agriculture. Are you making use of the connection of the county agents in Texas? Maybe you can explain to people what the county agent is.
We're really not. That's a great suggestion, and one that I've not really put into our strategy is to leverage those county agents. And Texas A&M has an amazing AgriLife program, extension agents in many communities across Texas. They also have a really amazing online catalog of courses and educational assets that are free, that are incredible, that rural Texans could take advantage of. So primarily we work with county commissioners, with city councils, with utilities, with internet service providers, both wired and wireless. Those are the folks we're working with, but I love your idea about the county agents.
Well, I have a paper called The County Agent Model of Entrepreneurship that I presented to the Agriculture Department some years back. And what it does with CMG is that it connects the county agents, right, to state funding, right? And you can have broadband office right there in all of the county agent offices, and then they can move that out to the rural people. And if you're interested, if you just do John Sibley Butler, the county agent model of entrepreneurship,
Okay.
It was done, and it's been used in other states. But I really think that the key to broadband in the future is to bring in not only the county agent, but all of the research money that they get for developing rural Texas or rural America, whether it's Oklahoma State, Louisiana State, any other the state agriculture schools that were founded for that.
I have an
CMG would
interesting.
be happy to enhance you with that. As a matter of fact, let's say this: I'm going to present you a proposal to do that, and Llewellyn would say, "I never take no for anything." So you just say, yes, sir, Dr. Butler. Let's move on this. Would you like to entertain the proposal?
It is true that take is an operative word in your vocabulary.
I had to wake Llewellyn up is what I was doing. No, seriously. I would like for you to take a look at that, what we've done with agriculture, and talk about economic development in that kind of tradition.
I love that idea.
Okay.
Yeah, the one comment that I would make, Johnny, and obviously Eric will probably find this out if he dives into your idea, is that the challenge with a lot of those legacy networks is that they were built, using copper, twisted pair, DSL, ISDN, all those things. They're still there. A lot of those networks are still there. So they don't have.
I'm talking about the money that's coming from the state to support it.
Yeah, but my
There's
point
so
is
much
that a lot of
money
those
for-
networks are still there and
Yeah.
they need to be upgraded to fiber, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
a
right.
lot of them still need to be, sort of redone, the investment to be upgraded. So,
Right.
so that may be part of the challenge too. Now, the other thing that I know of is the Department of Interior, which nobody thinks about, is the largest owner of assets in the world because they own all the buildings of the United States government, federal government, and they're everywhere and they need fiber, right? So you would think that a partnership with the Department of Interior, a partnership with the Department of Agriculture, that would get you to solve the problem of rural anything, right? And then I have a suggestion from Don Morrison that we should be talking to the United States Post Office. They have offices everywhere, right? And they need communications too. So maybe a partnership with the US Post Office is another way of going about it.
That's good, but they don't have the in-depth research. Look, Texas A&M gets billions of dollars to do research. And I'm just saying that
Yeah.
if you piggyback on the county agent model in terms of spaces in the state of Texas, they would have a lot to offer. I just put in the chat the county agent model for entrepreneurship and economic development vision for Texas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Erik, I'd like to ask you, what lessons have you to offer to other utilities helping with rural broadband? What have you learned at LCRA that applies, say, in Wisconsin or any state?
I'd say that it's one of the lessons we've learned is that coming up with a consistent technology strategy is really important. Trying to just pick your lane and to do it well and to do it in a consistent, reliable, standard way. With our network architecture, with the way we connect to internet service providers, and not trying to be all things to all people. Just be really, really great at being a reliable, affordable, and available middle mile service is really what we're focused on. That's one big lesson, and the other is that you can't do it by yourself. You have to create bridges with. I mean, you mentioned the county agents, you mentioned the Department of Interior. I mean, TxDOT wants to build charging stations for Teslas all over Texas, right? That's going to need, to take the money and to handle the current that's going on, and these vehicle charging stations, which are going to be pervasive across the state at some point. You need it for every school district. You need it for every post office, every driver's license agency. So, you need partners and to make this work. And, the Texas Legislature in its wisdom, said, hey, you've got this great asset. You've got 2,200 miles of fiber. It's really reliable. And it's in a lot of places where people don't have good internet. So go to it. And so we're doing this, we're self-funding this. So it's not, we didn't get any appropriation from the legislature. This is pay as you go. So we're working hard to make this a viable business. So, we got a little bit of startup capital from LCRA reserves, which has helped us get going. And we're grateful for that. And we hope to, turn this into a significant business.
Well, when you read the county agent model, we'll go down to the governor's office and just tell him what he needs to do for the great Texas in the future. Right? Certainly, if we could build highways across the state, we can certainly put broadband in. And as I said, you would get a proposal from CMD, and we expect it to be funded, but that's another question we'll talk about offline. And what we're going to do, we're going to blow you up and take you all over America, because there's no reason, as Llewellyn King had said, for broadband to be behind the highway structure of the 1950s. Just no reason. So take a look at that county agent model for entrepreneurship. Do you have it there?
I see it in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would not charge tuition, and I would not give an exam. So take a look at that, and then we'll be getting back to you.
We'll follow up with him.
Your business is the future of everything, and I really like it. Okay, Llewellyn.
How are people getting by at the moment? Are they using dish services? When I lived in what was normally a rural part of Virginia, it was really northern Virginia, close to Washington. but we did not, it was in the horse country and we did not have broadband, so we had a dish. It wasn't perfect, but it was a bridge. Are you in competition with the dish industry?
I guess you could call it, well, we're middle mile, we're not last mile, so we don't provide any service to end users at all. But the delivery method of satellite is an alternative to fiber, and so in that sense, it's competition with. Satellite has its place. There's a few providers out there, and obviously the Starlink is the one that's getting the most press these days. But that's pretty great. It's like the old satellite phones. They had their place, right? They didn't become. Not everybody has a satellite phone, but there are a lot of places in the world where they're really, really valuable.
Yep, absolutely. So Erik, tell us real quick, it seems like there is plenty of infrastructure money out there. Broadband is the ultimate enabling capability for the digital world that we're all talking about on any vertical. So this is only going to grow leaps and bounds, right? Tell us what keeps you up at night. What are you working on for the next 6 months, or what's in front of you right now?
The next 6 months is making sure that we have the right business plan in place to make sure we know where we're going with the easements, with the networking equipment, with our system architecture. And then we're actually doing deployments now in the next 6 months to get more and more customers. I mentioned we've got, fair number of customers already under our belt. We're learning how to make sure we can attract more. And then in trying to get people to join in and say, hey, we're bringing broadband to this town in rural Texas. Will you come with us and build out the city and try to get them excited? Some of them are applying for federal grants through the broadband, the BEAD program, and that money will hopefully come in the next 12 to 18 months for communities. And so we'll be excited to once those awards start being made. I think that'll jumpstart some people.
Erik, who provides the last mile service? You said that your middle mile, and who does the actual connections? And
there are really 4 main groups of customers I would categorize that we're doing. One is fiber to the tower is one option that we were providing. So someone like an AT&T, a Verizon, or a T-Mobile, we're providing capacity to light up those towers so that you can check your phone and check the weather when you're driving across rural Texas, right? The second is fiber to more the fixed wireless providers. So that's like in a ranch, you might have a tower up, and then they serve maybe a 3 to 5 to 10 mile radius around that tower with higher speeds. And then the third category of customer is the classic internet service provider that is going house to house, building to building, business to business with fiber service. You mentioned Grande, Andres was your provider at your house. Google's at my house. So whoever, those classic internet service providers. And the fourth are the rural electric co-ops, which play a really big part in the vitality of Texas life. And so those rural co-ops, some of them are choosing to enter the broadband market because they already have the poles, they already have the property rights. And so they're adding broadband to their menu. And so we're seeing that in Bandera Electric Co-op, southwest of Austin, and Mid-South out toward Brenham and Giddings that way. So there's various co-ops that are starting to bring broadband at good speeds at affordable prices, which is great.
Yeah, I actually have at Texas State Cedar, the consortium that I drive, Guadalupe Valley Electric Co-op, the very first member of Cedar, is a very successful co-op selling power, but also selling internet services. And they even, install solar panels and power walls in houses and all that. So they have roughly 95,000 electric customers or meters that they manage, and they have roughly 25,000 broadband.
Yeah. And Erik, I really like what you're doing, but I really like some more metrics. I would like to see some some more metrics on business enterprises, how they're getting on the broadband, metrics on how people are actually utilizing it, metrics on projecting what the economy will look like in the future using broadband. So I think that and getting those metrics could be done with big data. That is, you could look at all of the enterprises in certain counties in Texas, and then see who they are, and then see if they really need broadband, and then follow if it really helps their business enterprises. I think so. Metrics are good for your future and for your future funding, which we're going to get some big time state funding from a great governor in the state of Texas, because there's no reason for Texas to be behind places like Maine and New England and all of the old states in America that were significant at one time, but now losing their significance. Llewellyn, I said that just for you to wake up.
I know why you said it. I'm just so grateful to hear you mention someplace other than Texas. Your Texas centricity is awesome.
Electricity.
Centricity. What is that airplane you're sitting in there? Is that a mock-up, or does it actually fly?
No, it actually flies. It is.
But the airplane you fly in to avoid taking public airplanes is rather more modest, I would expect.
Well, no, actually,
172, perhaps.
There's wheels up, so we need to talk about that. You are a pilot yourself, you know.
Yeah.
And you should not be sitting around. You should be in wheels up.
Listen,
somewhere flying at your command. I'm really disappointed in that, but we'll get to talk about it.
Let me ask Erik a question. You know, he is the guest. We should ask him a question or two, don't you think?
Yeah,
I think
okay.
so.
Erik, as we go forward, when will we have reached saturation? When will we be able to say, first that Texas is well covered, and then the US? Is this 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, next year?
Yeah, I think when I talk about our mission for bringing broadband to rural Texas and connecting Texans to rural broadband through our middle mile, I think about the 200th anniversary of Texas coming up in 2036. And I think that if we can connect our entire service area to high-speed, reliable, affordable middle mile service in the next, 13 years away, we've got until the bicentennial of Texas. I think that's an achievable goal, and I think it's going to require some investment and some great partnerships. But I think it's a 10-year project.
Are we far enough along that we can point to a particular rural area that is doing better than it was because it already has broadband?
I mean, we're starting to see in some of the communities that we're, lighting up in northwest of Austin, so out in the Llano County area, which is the town of Llano is receiving broadband service from middle mile service from us, and they've got great competition now. They've got multiple providers with great service and great options for the community now, and I think it's going to lead to great things for that town. I can think of that right off the bat.
Have you heard in the past, and presumably you're interested in bringing into your service territory investment, businesses, employment, etc. Have you heard employers say, we'd love to be there, Erik, but we don't have broadband and therefore we can't locate in your territory?
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that the governor's office, when they're trying to attract companies to Texas, they're asking about power, they're asking about water, they're asking about labor, and they're asking about broadband. And those are the things that really matter. And I think it's not always about tax incentives or, special, reductions and this or that. It's a lot of times it's, what can you bring to bear as a community? And that's our job to make sure that the broadband is there. You get the great labor force, you get the educated community, you get folks who can skill up to whatever wants to relocate there.
Thank you.
Because they're not bringing that with them.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Eric, you know, we really want to thank you for being here. I would like to extend an invitation for you to join us on stage at the next Digital 360 Summit, which is going to be hosted here at Texas State as we're opening. We will have open by then, you know, 7 of the 14 labs, including, you know, our networks lab, which is up and running with all kinds of technology. So if, you know, it's September 26th through the 29th. I'll follow up on that, but if you're up for it, we would love to have you join the telecom panel that we usually have and discuss all kinds of cool things.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Love to do it and love the work that you're doing at Texas State.
Thank you. Thank you. Any parting thoughts, gentlemen?
Thank you for putting up with Llewellyn and I. We hadn't seen each other in a long time, so we love each other. So we have to keep each other really, really going. But look, you have such an important part to play as economic structures develop in the future. And we know that it is up to government to lay the infrastructure, and it's up for entrepreneurs to make it work. So I just really think you take a look at the county agent model. You get a proposal from CFD, and we can move forward from there.
Eric, it's good to meet you, and I think you're doing great work. And I'd love to come down and visit with you sometime. Maybe somewhere around about Digital 360, we can set up some. Johnny, when is Digital 360 this year?
This year it is March. We changed it. What is it?
No, September 26th
September, yeah.
to the 29th.
26th to the 29th. Right.
Okay. Well, very, very interesting. Just while we've got you here, Eric, how is the rest of your organization doing? And how is the flow in the Colorado River?
Well, the organization is doing well, thank you. And I think we're all looking forward to maybe more rain. We had a good storm the other day, and we're hoping that we can get some more water to refill the reservoirs that help fuel Central Texas. So,
how much of your load is hydro?
I'm sorry?
How much of your generation is hydro?
Not very much. On the generation side, it's a blend of hydro, natural gas, and coal.
And I can remember Eric with 620 with a little bit of road.
You may want to share, Eric. You and I were talking about your new project. So tell us again about the new project for the new power plant.
Yeah, just this week, LCRA announced the new peaker plant to help in times of great demand for power, whether it's summer or winter. And so it's a 190 megawatt plant that we're going to be building here shortly, and contributing to there's a lot of load growth in Texas because of the economy. And so we recently announced this week, we announced that new gas plant.
You know, Johnny thinks the load growth, the population growth in Texas is because of his magnetic personality, and everybody's coming to Texas to be near him.
Well, what I say when you come to Texas, don't let me pick you up at the airport. I want to pick you up at the private terminal. Don't let me come to the regular airport to pick you up. You shall fly in on a private plane. I will not pick you up at the regular airport in Austin, Texas. That's all I have to say. Now you figure it out.
All right, gentlemen.
Okay.
I'm gonna call it quits for today. I appreciate you, Eric, for being with us, and we'll follow up with our invitations and our white papers and all that.
Thank you
Fantastic.
very much, Eric, and I apologize for my problem getting connected. Cheers.
Johnny, take us away.
Woo. Some
Sing
folks
loud.
make it down, and others say I'm no good. It's a country born family dream. What I think I should, oh boy, what I think I should. And I don't give a damn about a $3. Spend it fast as I can. Oh, really, son, and a good guitar is the only thing that I'll understand. Oh, boy, the only thing that I'll understand. Okay,
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
did you hear the guitar?